One day I'm walking into the conference room where we were in a meeting, and there's a piece of trash on the floor and in the hotel. I picked it up, put it in the trash. Didn't think anything about it. And so he sits down and still had his accent and everything. He always smelled like cigarettes. I still remember Mr. Sanchez. And he reached into his pocket and took out a $50 bill and gave it to me. I'm like, what's that for? He goes, because you picked up that piece of trash. So he was on the third floor with a pair of binoculars watching to see who would kick that piece of trash out of the way or who would pick it up. And everybody knows this saying, is do the right thing even when nobody's looking, because the universe knows.
This episode is brought to you by the Rich Thinking Conference, being held in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on September 6th, 2024. It's a day of inspiration, mindset work, and power networking that will leave you feeling like $1 billion. And it'll have you ready to go out there and take action to do the things that you really want to do. Put yourself in the right room with the right people, and anything is possible. The Rich Thinking Conference teaches you how to unlock the wealth of wisdom. Check it out at richthinking.org for more information. Hey everybody, it's Mitzi here. In this show today, I am speaking to two amazing entrepreneurs, and they are cooking up something really special. I hope you enjoy it. Welcome back to Blessings, friends. Today, I have the pleasure of bringing you two guests who are cooking up something very special. Each of these men has a powerful why story that underlies their inspiration for their individual and joint entrepreneurial journeys. Ron Tornari is a chef who worked for a major organization for many years before meeting his partner, Mauricio Garcia. Mauricio had a brilliant idea. It's the Uber for chefs, the Cookin app. And the two of them came together in a beautiful synergy to bring Mauricio's brainchild to reality. And they are here to talk about what it takes to travel from adversity to bringing a successful idea to fruition. Welcome, Ron and Mauricio, to the show.
Our pleasure.
Our pleasure. Happy to be here.
All right. I have a big question for each of you to answer. I'm going to be acting a little bit like a moderator. I'll have to call on you, or if you have some of the questions you feel like just chiming in. But we'll start out by asking each of you individually. When do you believe that a person can truly call themselves successful? I'm going to ask Mauricio to go first.
Yeah, sure. When they become successful, I think that success is truly a journey, right? I've learned that it's not necessarily a destination. If I look back in my life 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, many of the things that I visualized in the past I've achieved, but then as a human being, you're always striving, you're always looking for more. I think that's probably the one thing all human beings have in common is we're always striving for more, right? We want to discover who can we become. And so success is that maybe is a state of mind of always wanting to achieve more, to do more. It's not a destination you get to. It's the way that I have looked at things and how I go about my entrepreneurial journey.
Yes, I feel that very deeply on my own journey, so I can relate to what you're saying. What about you, Ron? When do you think a person could call themselves successful?
I think it depends on what they are searching for. Everybody's success is different. I thought I was a great success, and I think I was when I worked for Marriott and Starwood Hotels for 30 years as a chef. And then because of my daughter, was forced to come back home here to New Jersey and invest in a franchise, a Chef for Seniors franchise, and which I thought I would never own a business. And I did that at 55. That thing grew. And then I was just in unknown waters because I'd never owned my own business. But I saw little successes, and I kept a journal of the little things that just made me, wow, I did that. And especially with the help of people. And then I reached out and got a mentor and took the next steps. And that led to the relationship with Mauricio. And it's one of the greatest success stories for my life anyways, to meet somebody like Mauricio, not just to become a partner with him in this venture, but just to know him personally and everything. It's funny how we learn stuff from people, how older than us, younger than us. And I just look for the inspiration from other people for my successes.
Everything you just said hits home with me as well. I want to touch on later on the idea of starting something new later in life, because that's very dear to my heart as well. And I just want to follow that question up though, because this is something that came up in my own life recently. The idea of people who are goal oriented, who have big visions and dreams for themselves. If you call yourself a success at any point, are you limiting your potential? What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I believe so. If you think you've made it, that's when you're, in my opinion, start to go downhill, right? It's okay to feel proud of all your achievements. Of course, celebrate them and keep moving.
Yeah, and keep moving.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we have a responsibility in this life to continue to move forward. I don't think there is a cap on the human's ability to learn new skills and potential. As a matter of fact, it is the responsibility to harness previous experiences and skills you've gathered to move on to the next stage. What you just mentioned right now about starting later in life, in the 40s, 50s, 60s. A lot of people think like maybe it's too late. Probably the best time. You've met the most people. You've got the most skills. You've got the most life experience. It's probably you have a much higher chance of success moving forward because you have experience. And I believe that the key to success at the end of the day is experience. And if you take a look at some of the most inspiring success stories on the entrepreneurial space, most of these people are 40, 50, 60s, right? Their entrepreneurial journeys, and they become stories for generation. In other words, inspire generation. The people be hearing about those stories for hundreds and hundreds of years. So yeah, I think I can't really remember this quote. I'm going to try to say it. I do understand it. This is from Ray Kroc. I think he said that when you green, you grow. And when you write, or when you're like, it's like when you're already there and then you begin to raw. So you always think like you green, in other words.
Yeah,
Does that make sense? I don't know if that's
absolutely.
exactly the quote, but I,
No.
yeah.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I love that because it's interesting because the two of you probably have different experiences with this, because Ron, you began as this successful chef and you were doing really well. And you had a universal like catalyst, like something the universe came along and knocked you over the head in the form of your daughter's illness. But a lot of us as entrepreneurs are living in this gap where we're always getting to a particular goal and then seeing more. And then you keep going, but you're always in the gap between where you are and where you want to be, because where you want to be always gets different. It always changes as you're moving. So that's one of the reasons why entrepreneurs are always motivated, but also in a state of, I'm not where I want to be yet. But Ron, you escaped that because you became an entrepreneur as you were on the journey. So how do you feel about that? The idea of living in the gap?
Yeah. So, like I said, 30 years working for Marriott and Starwood, you can get pretty comfortable.
Yeah.
Once I became an executive chef, I had 30, 40 people under me at certain hotels. And you're like, okay, I'm making a decent, weight has some nice perks and everything. And then I always use my daughter as my inspiration and everything. And then unfortunately, her disease had a different path for me. And I had to come back here to New Jersey, like I said, and I had no idea we were scared. Me and my ex-wife, we were going to lose her. And I got this franchise going. And like I said, I'm like, started that at 55 and I just turned 60 April 1st. Well, like Mauricio said, I was thinking I'd be retired by now. And now I believe that retirement is a really bad idea. I mean, I'm 60, I have more energy now. Mauricio, I love him. He pushes me. It gives me inspiration and stuff, and it's giving me the reins of this of Cookin, the app, and it's just I can't wait to wake up. And I haven't had that in a long time. Even with my business, Chefs for Seniors has been in business for just 6 years, and it's successful. But again, I'm starting to find myself getting comfortable in it. And so, like Mauricio said, is these things that you need intermittently to push you, and then it's like it's waiting for you. These successes, money, relationships, whatever it would be. And with me, it's a little bit of everything. And I just feel blessed.
I love that
Yeah,
answer.
stay green, my friend. Stay green. I think the quote was, when you're green, you grow. When you're ripe, you raw.
Love it.
That's right. So you want to stay green. So instead of thinking
Absolutely.
of it as a like a gap between where you are and where you want to be, you're green. You're like the stem of the flower moving towards the bloom.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's beautiful. All right. I would love for each of you to take us briefly through your backstory just to illustrate what you think was the most difficult thing that you had to overcome to get here so that we can build a ladder for folks to see what's possible in their own lives.
Good. Ron, you want to start or you want me to go?
Go ahead, Mauricio. You go first.
Listen, I'm an immigrant from Mexico. I came here to the States the first time when I was 8 years old. My parents brought us here. My dad had already been here for a couple of decades. And thanks to Ronald Reagan amnesty, was able to get the citizenship. And then after we came here, we did have a very, almost lost our life, the whole family in Oklahoma. Those were major snowstorm. We almost went off the big bridge. But after that, I went to elementary, and at age of 14, I went back to Mexico. I was losing my Spanish. I wanted to retain that. I wanted to learn the language, acculturate, but also I wanted to always have a good Spanish and the best English that I could possibly speak. So I went back to high school. I actually did high school in the beautiful city of Morelia, Michoacan, Mexico. And then I came back at the age of 18. And what happened, one of the first epiphanies there for me, when you think about what were those things, those defining moments in life, I learned that who you hung around with is, as a human being, you can't do nothing but to be influenced and transformed to that environment. I was hanging out with a whole different crowd of people when I was in the United States. It was not the right kind of people. And I was acting, I was thinking, I was doing as that environment. When I went to Mexico, I was influenced by a whole different set of folks, different kids, different mindset, different ways of thinking, different ways of talking, different ways of visualization. And I think that was the thing that gave me the mental strength in a way when I came here and I saw myself stuck in the factory. I knew I needed to do something else, right? I was able to see, and luckily, when the opportunity came knocking my door, there was a lady named Paola. She's from Colombia. Well, she came and she said, Mauricio, welcome to the land of the opportunity. Welcome to the United States of America. Here, you're going to do well financially as long as you provide value to the marketplace. Marketplace is not going to discriminate you. If you can provide value, you will be handsomely rewarded for that. And took me by the hand and she took me to a place where I learned a lot about how money works. She was actually in the financial space. So she took me to this building, to this place where I saw people thinking different, dressing different, visualizing different. Again, in short, living the life I could only dreamed of at that time. And that's when I started my career, my entrepreneurial, my sales career started in 1999 when I began to learn things about mutual funds, stocks, bonds, insurance, financial planning, all the language and the strategies of financial planning. And so that was the one thing that helped me move from a linear salary to an exponential opportunity that got me to reach that coveted six-figure income before the 21st century came into, reality. This is 1999, 2000. And so, make a long story short, I have been my core business per se, what I've developed a true passion for has been educating people how to make more money, how to keep more money, and how to protect it from everything that erodes its value: inflation, taxation, speed, conflicts of interest, volatility, even a health crisis. Because the biggest financial challenge I think we're all going to have is being able to spend 20, 30 years to say in retirement, which I don't think most people visualize it today as being in a retirement chair someplace that they, like Ron says, most people visualize themselves starting that new business, right? Leveraging everything that they learn up to that point and create the biggest story of their life past 60. But you still need to have financial resources. You still need to, why not take advantage of those productive stages in your life and obviously build the assets that can help you maintain your lifestyle so that you can do those other things. Well, you have the assets that can support it. Not all your income doesn't have to be active, but rather passive through early financial education. And to end it with it is, and part of why I'm so passionate about it, I come from a country where only 2% of the population actually participates in financial market. That is 2% in Mexico compared to 50% in the US, right? We're still behind. We compare to countries like Singapore, right? They're in terms of the percentage of people that are actually participating in financial markets, but Latino community being so big and growing at such a rapid pace, I have really focused on working with that.
Yeah.
And cooking honestly came later as part of me being just so dedicated, so focused on that, and my wife really working with me. I found myself just ordering this fast food. And I'm like, something's wrong here. I know that within 5 mile radius, there has to be somebody that can cook Peruvian food, homemade. I know that somebody within 5 mile radius can cook like my grandma because that's what they do at their home. They're just not going to go open a restaurant. And that was the epiphany. I'm like, wait a minute, what? I could, what if we could create a network, a connection between people that are busy, people that would like to experience authentic homemade food that they're not going to find at the high-end restaurant over there. It's a whole different story, right? And so obviously that was the original idea. And it's like Mark Zuckerberg says, ideas don't come out fully formed. They become clear as you work on them. And I've always been a big believer on taking massive, aggressive, imperfect action because in action aggressively pursued is better than an action that never really takes place because you're trying to get it to perfect. And so we just started on, and obviously the consequence of doing that is what led me to meet probably the most perfect partner in the world I could have asked for, the great Ron Tornari.
All right. I know. And I love that the idea so much. And after we hear from Ron for a little bit of his story, I want to talk about the Cookin app because there are so many times when I could have used something like that in life, just for various reasons. But the idea of having somebody to be able to cook something for you that you need for whatever reason, whether it's a nutritional need, if it's a party, there's so many different uses for that. So it's fantastic. I love the idea and I can't wait to dig into it. So Ron, just tell us a little bit about your backstory that led you to know that you needed more.
Yeah, that's why I wanted Mauricio to go first because our path was so different. And when I worked for the hotels, we had a financial company that took care of our 401ks and retirement. And I really didn't have to think about it. So it was something I was really never interested in, just like pursuing it. Knowing him for the past 6 months and listening to his passion about it and how I'm passionate about cooking and hospitality, it just blew me away, the similarities, even though it's a different path of our professions. And like Mauricio with his family, I started cooking 6, 7, 8 years old, an Italian family. And one of my two brothers would be out. So every Sunday we would go to grandma's, Grandma Lucy and Vince. And my brothers would be out playing hockey or football. And I'd be on a little stool next to my grandma, and she'd be teaching me how to cook gravy. We call it gravy, so Italian sauce, and showed me how to slice the garlic and all this. And as she did it, she would take notes, and I would look at her notes, and it wasn't about the food. It was about Papa, like my grandfather. Papa loves his beans this way, and I get so happy when I see him eat. And so I have her recipe book, which really isn't a recipe book. It's a journal of how the food made people feel. And so that's what kind of pushed me into hospitality. And I've been in it all my life. And it's a field you go into, you have to love it. That's why they think they call it culinary arts. You have to have it in you. Anybody can cook. And I put it like this. I said, anybody can be taught to play the piano, right? And anybody can be taught to cook, but can you play the piano like Billy Joel or Elton John? Okay, so that's a God-given talent. So I think God has given me a talent to cook for people and bring hospitality. And it's neat to watch my journey through the hotel systems, restaurants, and country clubs and things like that. And then when I took that leap and started my business, Chefs for Seniors, and then through that was able to meet Mauricio, I was like, okay, when we were talking about the app, because Chefs for Seniors was proving the concept of cooking, because Chefs for Seniors, we cook for people in their homes, but it's just seniors, veterans, and people with disabilities. And then when Mauricio told me his idea, let's bring this to everybody, Because I get calls all the time, like saying, "Hey, I'm just a busy person, like all three of us, and I got to eat a certain way. I want to have a romantic dinner for my wife, and maybe an event or meal prep." And I was on a 2-minute drill with Mauricio, and I just saw his face laid up when I started talking. I'm like, why is he after watching the show and watching him? I just didn't get it until he explained the app to me, and I'm like, wow, it's amazing all the ideas, like he said, that are out there in the world. And then he had the passion on top of everything else that he's doing to push it. And it's the synergies. It's just amazing. And my mentor has been teaching me to be more interested and interesting. And I listened to him, or my coach, Mauricio. At the dinner we were at, Mitzi, we met so many different people. And I think we're naturally inclined to talk about ourselves. And so I've been learning to stop, just listen. And just a few conversations I had, if I was talking, I wouldn't have learned what I've learned about the person. I can't be more blessed right now. Me and Cami, which is my partner in the business, Chefs for Seniors, we're so happy that Mauricio and his wife and are in our lives and everything. So we're excited to bring this to the world.
Yeah, it's really cool. So just walk me through what it would look like if you were to use the app. So let's say you're having a dinner party and you have a theme for the dinner party of, say, Caribbean food, and you wanted to hire someone to come in to cook for the party. What would I do?
Go ahead, Mauricio, I'll let you.
Honestly, we wanted to make it so simple, right? And I think today most of the stuff are available to us in an app on a phone. Whether you want to search by an experience, they say you've never. I'm sure most people probably find phenomenal Peruvian food, which is really one of my favorite. But let's just say that you haven't tried it, or maybe you haven't found a local restaurant here, but you're curious to see if maybe someone within the 5, 10, 15-mile radius knows how to do that. You go on the app, you go buy Peruvian food, you can see the entire dish, you see the entire profile of the chef, and you're able to communicate with them right there and then. There's an internal chat, and then you can book them right there and then. It's really that simple. You pick the time, pick the day. We help you coordinate and open the communication lines with the chef, and I guess the chef goes in there and they pretty much set their prices. We don't dictate anything. We let the kind of the open market what that is. And it is maybe this is a long-winded answer, but it is a app where the chef gets to rate the user of the app, right? The person that's requesting the service and vice versa.
Mhm.
But it's really that. It's push button, get chef. That's
I
all.
love that.
That's the easiest. Push button, get chef. Whether
That's
that's
amazing.
any
Amazing.
kind of experience.
And I can see it even for busy families, maybe needing a box lunch for their children for the week, something like that. Or just if you have a particular dietary restriction and it's just hard for you to shop and get all the ingredients that are right for your body, you want to have somebody else do that for you. Like, it has so many endless possibilities. Uber for chefs. I love it.
Yeah, it's oh yeah, and I think I love what Ron said is how he said it is most food delivery apps bring the food, but we actually bring the chef.
So yeah, so the tagline, we don't just deliver the food, we deliver the chef. And so you know how you get your food delivered by whatever the app is, DoorDash, whatever, and you don't know who's delivering it and whatever. And by the time you get it, it's not what it looked like when it left wherever you purchased it from. So this way, the chef is cooking in your home. They bring their own toolbox, pots and pans and knives. You get to hang out with the chef.
It's a whole different experience. Right?
Yeah, it's a whole different experience.
It's an experience. And
That's exactly right. It is an experience. That's better well said.
yeah, that is really cool. I think this is going to be just enormous. I can see this being something people just love. How cool would that be to have? And then you could either develop a relationship with that chef or try someone else. And imagine being able to just experiment with different types of food. Try
was the
something that you never
original
tried.
vision. Yeah, they have all the world flavors in your hand. Okay, in a country like the United States, we have so many different people from all over the world. Just imagine all the flavors we never get to experience because most of these people are not going to open a restaurant. So providing them an opportunity to deliver that experience to people locally, the best food I've ever had is food that I've had in somebody's home, not necessarily
Yeah.
right. I think there's phenomenal restaurants out there, and I don't need to knock on them, but you know what I'm saying? It's there's this uniqueness to homemade food. Like most people would probably say the best food I've ever had is obviously my grandma's food and my mom's food, right? Because we grew up with that, but it brings so many memories. And I think it's also good to say that the private chef, it's always been a thing of, at least in the mind of most people, is something only the rich could afford.
Yeah.
We're democratizing. You can bring a chef to your home. You don't have to be multi-millionaire to do that. You have that sort of experience.
I love that. You're making it accessible for everyone to be able to have a quote private chef in your home.
Personal chef, absolutely.
Oh my gosh, so cool. So will the chefs have to go through any sort of criteria? Will they have any credentials that people can be assured of?
Yeah, Ron, I'll let you answer that. I know it varies a little bit by state and counties and stuff like that, but
Yeah, so when the chef or the cooks signs up for the app, we put them through a background check. One of our concerns was food safety, especially with a home cook. Like you're cooking in your home, but when you're at somebody's house, you need to know what some allergies they might have. So we're working on like maybe a food questionnaire before you hire us. We could understand what's going on, and we're working on some relationships. There's some online companies out there that do certifications for foodborne illnesses and things like that. So these chefs, everything through us, everything through the app, they don't have to go to a third party out. And that's what we're working on right now to try to streamline that where the chef is ready to go. He has his certificates, whatever that is, it's called a Surf Safe certificate. And there's other things out there. I'm actually a proctor for the Restaurant Association, so I can actually teach it myself for our chefs when we do onboarding. And it's a funny thing. So me being 60, when Mauricio first told me about this, and when I thought about it, I was like, man, if I knew about this app before I invested a bunch of money into the franchise, Chefs for Seniors, I would have just did the app because I believe in myself. So a lot of cooks and chefs are like that. They're like, if I just had the opportunity, I see when I was working in the restaurants, there were some great talent, better cooks than me, young kids who were just passionate about it. So giving them this platform that Mauricio created to show their talents and everything, especially the younger, I would say 19 to 30 right now is like our target because that gig economy right now in the restaurants and hotels are cutting hours, not giving more hours. So a lot of these chefs have to work multiple jobs. So instead of worrying about that, they can go right on the app, download their profile, put up their information, like Mauricio said, their menu, the cost, the radius that they serve. And if they just want to cook great Thai food and that's what they're good at, that's what they can do. And like Mauricio said, just here, I'm in New Jersey. I just know in a 10-mile radius of where I live, there's probably 50 different cuisines from different countries. You would never be able to do all that. And with the app, like Mauricio said, you just scroll, oh, wow, this person does this and they can experience that. So that's what just blew my mind when Mauricio explained this app to me. And so here we are. It's sometimes it's surreal to me. And now we're getting our feet under us here and we're starting to take off marketing and getting some good feedback and made some good relationships with some colleges, culinary colleges and things like that.
yeah, I want to paint the vision here in the picture, the grand vision of this thing, because yeah, right now it's going to be cooks, chefs. These will be the most trained, obviously, right now. They'll teach us a lot. We'll get a lot of data, feedback. The ultimate goal would be for this opportunity to be available from somebody that's from Mexico that cooks amazingly. She's not a Korean chef. She's never worked in a kitchen, like industrial or a restaurant or hotel, but she's phenomenal at home. Providing that person the opportunity to say, I may not open a restaurant, but I would sign up here to get additional income as I provide an experience for people that live close by me.
Yeah. I love that.
That's where it's going to go.
Yeah. So
The app's going to create many entrepreneurs that didn't have the chance, like Mauricio said.
yeah. So yeah, maybe you don't want to have a full-time job working in a restaurant. Maybe you don't want to open your own place, but you love to cook and you're excellent at it and you have a venue where you have an open venue. like the gig economy for chefs.
Yeah. Or you have a restaurant, but listen, you could do on the weekends. You could provide that experience for a party. Just like you've mentioned, Mitzi, there's so many different applications to this that we could literally spend an hour just going into another hour, just going through all the different applications that this could have. All kinds of different events, all kinds of different celebration, and sound redundant, but event that people have, people in fitness, right? They eat in a particular way, or people with a health challenge, or they need a specific type of diet. So all that is going to be found, and the options are obviously going to be growing over time as there's more talent coming in the app, and as the app becomes more known, it's going to course correct until it gets very close. It's never going to probably be perfect. I'd like to stay away from that. You're always working towards that perfection, but the course correction is going to land us at the right place.
Yeah, it strikes me as something that can really scale. And that's what we were talking about before is when you're in a particular career where you're just working for somebody else, you don't get the opportunity to scale. So creating something like this, it gives you the opportunity for perpetual growth. You're always going to be green.
That is right.
And so, how did you guys meet? We talked a little bit in the beginning about synergy and how when you have your energy at a place where you are open for alignment with someone. So, Mauricio came up with this idea, and Ron already doing something in that vein, and then you came together. How does that happen? Talk a little bit about the synergy of how you met and how that works, you think, in the world?
Let me share my story here, because obviously this is we call glorious. It's not an accident, but here's what happened. So I have a friend of mine, he's a partner in the financial company that we're building. He's pretty well known out there, having a very successful podcast. And he's friends with Dave Meltzer. Dave Meltzer invited him to be a judge at the 2-minute drill, and he declined. And I said, I'll go. I'll be the judge. And I think we were in New York. We traveled, we did 86 flights last year, going to all these different cities all across the country with this financial literacy tour and the Latin Talk tour. But anyways, we flew in to Dave Meltzer Studios, the 2-minute drill. And it was my first ever opportunity to be a judge for Entrepreneur alongside Dan Fleshman and some other successful people, the great Dave Meltzer. And here comes Ron talking about what Chef for Seniors was. And I'm like, wait a minute, I've been working on this other idea. And so we connected. And I told Dave, look, I think Ron probably be the ideal running mate. I don't know, but something tells me he could be the ideal running mate here for this thing we have visualized in the past. And he connected us, and it's been a phenomenal ride.
Isn't that interesting? That's why I think it's so important to walk into any situation with an open mind and an open heart so that these opportunities that are floating around out there can come to you.
Show up.
Yeah, they can show up. And it is divine in a way. Like you said, it was like a glorious kind of accident. It's not really an accident. It's
right.
somehow ordained. It's like somehow written in the stars. Yes. Yeah. And so, Ron, how did you feel about this whole thing and the coming together? It feels like almost like a cosmic meeting of the minds. How did it feel for you?
I would have thought that if I didn't, leading up to the show, the 2-minute drill, Dave was my coach for already 6 months. So he's opened my mind to what the universe has in store for us. We're sometimes just blocking it. And I went into the show, as Mauricio said, it's a kind of like Shark Tank, but it's a pitch show. So you're not pitching for equity, you're pitching whoever the best pitch wins. First of all, we won, so I didn't even expect that. And I got an email saying who the judges would be, and I knew Dan Fleischman, I knew Dave, Mauricio guy. I'm like, no, I'm like a finance guy. I'm looking him up, and I said, quite known. I'm like, I just didn't know who he was. And if you watch the show, when it was my turn, everything gravitated to a conversation between me and Mauricio. The other judges said what they needed to say, but I went back and looked at the tape, and I think I saw like an aha moment in his face. And I'm like, you know, I didn't get it at the time what he was talking about because I was just so nervous and excited to be on the show. And like he said, he turned to Dave and said, I think that would meet. And I was like, what does this guy have? What he up to? And so when he explained it to me and I felt his passion about how much he believed in it and what he's doing now is just, that's his thing. I need somebody to, believe in this and push it along while I do what I need to do. And I'm like, I have the time to do it and I have the passion to do it. But the main thing is I just believe in it because it's working already. So now to bring it on a grand scale is something else. But like you said, I still believe it wasn't an accident. He's become my friend and we see each other through Zoom. He's in Atlanta. I'm in New Jersey. But we do meet. It's in person. It's quite special.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you a big question, and I already know the answer, but is the American dream still alive?
100%. 1000% it is. It just needs to be backed by aggressive action.
Mm.
Most people, as we are building something, right, it's not easy, but it's not hard. You have to keep showing up. There is no way you aren't going to get some feedback from the actions that you take. I've been proven time and time again how alive the opportunity is, how the American dream is, how alive it really is. And but what is that? It's just take the action, have faith, right? Have the faith, take the action, learn, pivot, course correct, but be aggressive. Success loves speed, and aggressiveness is what's required. If you don't have aggressiveness, none of the skill, none of the knowledge you have is going to serve you much. It
Mhm.
needs the aggressiveness part, which means go. It means do. Almost like that Nike thing. Do it. Do it. That's the thing. That's the thing. And if you do that, you'll quickly realize the American dream is more alive today than ever.
Absolutely. It's the persistent, consistent pursuit of your dream, and you just got to do it. And with all the failures, which are what I've learned through all this or just rungs on the ladder for me to get to where I want to be, to the people that can help me. And a big thing also, like Mauricio says, is not just the speed, but also having the courage to ask for help along
Mm.
the way.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're both talking about things I read in so many books. In particular, the one that comes to mind is Napoleon Hill's famous book, Think and Grow Rich, because you need to have the burning desire, you need to have the faith, but you also need a plan and you have to take action. You can't just sit back and think the law of attraction is going to take care of everything. You have to be active with the universe, co-creating your experiences there. So the action part, really
You
interesting.
you asked a lot of a couple questions in the beginning about success.
Mhm.
And what I've learned, thanks to a mentor of mine, is what the real boss is. The real boss name is success. You have the same boss that I do. And success is a means and a gun. It requires you to do things, right, that if you don't do, you're just not going to get it. So just understanding what success requires, you do that, then you get it. I don't
Yeah.
think that's one guarantee, but I guarantee that you'll grow.
Yep.
You'll mature out of any action. See, I live by the paradigm. Action will always give you knowledge. Knowledge doesn't necessarily lead to action. Stop reading so much.
And start
Action,
doing.
yeah, just do because action always leads to knowledge. Always,
Yeah.
always. Action leads to knowledge. Knowledge doesn't lead to action.
Wow. Okay, that's very good.
And Mitzi, when we were at the dinner on Saturday, Craig asked me actually same thing that Mauricio was saying. How do I inspire like people that work for me, my employees and stuff, to move ahead or whatever? Because a lot of my employees are stuck. Or I always tell them you can do better than what I'm paying you. I can just pay you what I can pay you, and it's taking that action. I'm like, and I have an employee that's just always bitching and just like can't get a chance. And I'm like, because you go home after work and you sit and you watch TV. She goes, I'm reading books. I'm like, and like Mauricio said, I fell into that trap too. The reading of the books, the watching the videos, and then writing it down, then not doing anything about it. And then all of a sudden it's not going to work out the way you want it to work out, but it's better than sitting. And it's a guarantee. If you don't do nothing, you're not going to get anything. But if you at least try and put that foot forward, and be aggressive. Not, yeah.
I gave my daughter a name. Her name is Jimena Maya, Maia, Maya. It stands for massive, aggressive, immediate action. That is my formula for success. It needs to be massive. It needs to be aggressive. It needs to be immediate. Perfect and immediate. Maybe I could even add another I. It could be a massive, aggressive, immediate, and perfect act. Maya.
Right. I love
That is really my one of my formulas for getting the result there.
Okay. Yeah. You definitely need to take action. And I think people who get stuck in the reading and the watching of the videos, it's a form of avoidance. And they're probably acting from a place of fear at that point. They're afraid to take action. So something came to mind when you were talking about how, so Mauricio, you had this idea. Ron, you had the things you were doing. And a lot of people in the entrepreneurial space will talk about the idea that you should keep your dreams a secret until you are ready for them to be in the world. But if you guys had done that, you wouldn't have met. You wouldn't be doing this amazing thing. So what do you think about that idea of building in secret kind of idea?
I don't. I scream it out. I scream it out. I'm not afraid, really. I think in business, I've learned a few lessons about you gotta set up your entity right, your trademarks right, you gotta protect those things. We've gotta still be smart about business, right? But really, I wouldn't be concerned about competition. You go out if you are as aggressive. How do I say this? Most people in the state of the world right now, most people don't take action. I'm not concerned. And if somebody goes, takes action and beats me, great. I'll take off my hat. But I'm not going to be silent about the ideas that I have. Because the more I speak to the world about them, the more committed I become. The more I speak it to the world, the more it becomes materialized. And I feel like if I just keep it here, it doesn't become a reality. You know,
And with all this going on with me, I've learned to share my secrets and my dreams and everything like that. But I'm also selective now who I share it with. I've shared what I'm doing with Mauricio with a few people and the negativity. And I'm like, okay, all right. When I've been mentored and coached on about people like that, you're talking to somebody who's not as successful as you are, and they're telling you something's not going to work. So I'm a little selective of who I do share my dreams with and everything like that. And I'm telling you, the one person that I do share it with is Cammy. She's my partner, but she's also my girlfriend for 11 years. And I don't think I would be here if it wasn't for her dedication and sacrifice. When I left Marriott and started a business, I went to zero. So she paid the rent, she fed me. We had to get a company vehicle. She drove a beat up car. And she one day, something's gonna happen. And he's sitting right there in front of us, Mauricio, and among other different things that have happened. And so I would just say that be selective of who you tell your dreams to, but don't hold them in because you gotta let the world know.
Wow.
yeah, I do not lose sleep about what people think anymore. Really, I do not. I have a clear vision. I execute. I will let the universe tell me back what's the course correction that I need to do. You know what I mean? The visions I have, if I believe in them, and I think they are, even if it's risky or whatever, if just like Elon says, if it's something that you know that needs to be done, even if the odds of winning are not in your favor, you should still go ahead and do it. You still do it. I do operate under that paradigm, but I don't pay that much attention what people might say or the negativity. People were negative the day I put on my first suit. They made so much fun of me when I first got out to educate people about how the stock market works and how compound interest works. All my friends and people that I knew were laughing at me like you have no idea. But I guess that having gone through that and being able to look back of how much of a progress I've been able to make, it doesn't bother me. Or it shouldn't bother,
Absolutely.
all those driven, determined dreamers out there right now, just follow your vision. If you think, if you believe that this is something the world needs, just go ahead and pursue it.
That's
Yeah,
right.
you just look at our story, me and Mauricio. If it happened to us or me, and it can happen to anybody, but if I didn't take the initiative and go on the 2-minute drill, which in the back of my head is I saw who I was up against. I'm like, man, I have no chance. Nobody's going to vote for me. And again, Cammie's, what are you talking about? Do it. And then have a man like Mauricio and then Dan Fleischman, who also was on the panel, and Dave. If you knew me a year ago, my whole circles has changed. And it's not,
Thanks to
Yeah.
not by mistake. And I love when I come home and Cammie says, like, look at you, Rance. You're so different than what you were. And it wasn't bad before, but it was the confidence thing.
Yeah.
And if you listen to both of us talk, here's me, 60, and Mauricio, 40 something years old.
45.
And he teaches me every day. So I think that's why this works. We learn off of each other.
The frequency, Ron.
Yeah.
Frequency. That's what you attract. That frequency, you've elevated in ways. And if we're not in the same frequency, it's repellent.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why these circles change.
That's right. And your circles changing is a good sign. That means you're growing. And I love that you said, Mauricio, about how there were people in your life who made fun of you for putting on the suit. But then I was thinking, like, as you walked into the room, and if I didn't know you, I would see you walk into the room in a suit. I'd think, oh, wow, oh my gosh, this guy knows what he's talking about. Like, I would feel that vibe because you were walking into the room for the people that were vibing with you, and those other people were no longer at your frequency.
That's fine. I agree.
Yeah, it's so interesting. As you guys are talking, like, you're talking about like drive and persistence and grit and all of those great things, but you're also talking about generosity. You both have these ideas from a place of wanting to make the world better. So Mauricio, with your financial help and the nutritional things that you're providing through this app, the actual food, the enjoyment of the food, and also the health benefits of the food. So, and Ron, like what you do with your work for, I know you also have a nonprofit, the Groceries for Grandparents. It just comes from a place of giving. So in your experience with other people, what is the difference between someone who has a business or an idea that comes from a place of generosity versus someone who goes in trying to see what they can take or extract from others?
I would say I didn't realize that I was just naturally a giver.
Mm,
And a lot of the things that I have done for the last 25 years or so is really come from that, but I was not conscious about it. There's a lot of things that I've done. I built one of the things when I first learned this amazing thing about the world of finance, my first reaction was, wow, 2% of the Mexican population, young population, don't know anything about finance. I actually went down there, 2013, 2014. They spent a few years down there. We licensed maybe about 2,000 agents to go out and educate families. So we did thousands and thousands of families being helped and start a retirement plan, college fund. Point I'm making is that it started from that and came back here and started doing it here. But this is where I'm going to, is that I saw that in order for a company to scale or to really build enough distribution to have a true impact, I needed to have systems and processes and software, right? So I started to build software so much that my mentor in the US who built 2 multi-billion-dollar market cap companies saw this piece of software. And instead of me looking for a way to monetize that, I pretty much gave it away to them. That software right now helps 60,000 agents manage their business. 60,000 agents have come to that, and they're using software and technology that is giving them a higher chance of success. Now, that has, without me looking for it, this company where I'm a part of right now was able to partner with a much bigger company for hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. And so this thing I did in the beginning, which was not really money driven per se, came back in the form of millions of dollars because they made me part of that windfall. So
yeah.
even when I lose, I win. I think that the world will give to the givers and it'll take from the takers. But as also, you also, I guess when you're in business, you also need to be a little smarter. Not just, how do I say that? You can be the giver if it's your nature, but you also have to, be a little smart about business and not necessarily give everything away all the time. Because at the end of the day, you also have to take care of you. But I just realized I'm awakening, and hopefully that doesn't make me a taker. I'm naturally a giver.
No, I don't think it does. And I think that it's okay to want to be successful. It's okay to want to be wealthy. It's okay to get money from the things that you give. That's part of the exchange of energy in the world. So you shouldn't feel guilty about that. No one should listening should feel guilty. That does not make you a taker. It makes you
No,
a
I
part
was
of the
just doing this
exchange.
for the cause. I was doing it for the cause. I want to help the cause and give everything. I
Yeah.
knew that somehow it'll come back. If it did, fine. And it turned out I had a pretty big win for me at this stage of life, knowing from where I come from. And it made me a believer of the karma effect, right?
Yes,
What you do for others, really focus on the impacts, focus on helping people. It will not go unnoticed.
that's right. No, yeah. And so, Ron, just tell us just a little bit about your nonprofit that you have, the Groceries for Grandparents, and how that came about.
Yeah, so Groceries for Grandparents Fund has morphed into not just groceries for seniors. So we bring, like today, we're cooking 180 meals today for some church pantries, shelters, but most of all, there's some women's safe houses throughout the area here in New Jersey that we bring food to. Obviously, more than just the Groceries for Grandparents. But how it happened is when COVID came about, I was luckily in my third year with Chefs for Seniors, so I already had a customer base. New franchises that opened at that time didn't make it or stuck it out, and then they're doing good. But what happened was I started getting phone calls because the state of New Jersey shut down the Meals on Wheels program for a few months because of COVID and just left those people that depended on that one meal a day in the dark, nothing. So my phone started to ring, and I noticed that the calls coming in from all over the country. So it could have been somebody from Atlanta saying, "Hey, my mom lives in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, which is the town where I live. And can you bring her food?" I'm like, "Yeah, and it costs this. This is my service." They're like, "No, it should be free." And I'm like, "What do you think this is?" And so because of the nature or the name of the business, Chefs for Seniors, people automatically thought that it was a free service. And after 900 calls in about 2 days, I'm like, I think I should probably do something. I said to Cammy. So we also have a food truck. So we started selling soups to a friend of mine owns a really big fruit and vegetable stand. And she let me park my food truck there. And so the money we made from selling the soup, stews, and chowders, we put it in our account. And if somebody called and couldn't afford our service, we gave the service away for free. And we used that money to buy the ingredients for the food that they wanted. Now I didn't have a nonprofit then. I was just doing this. And I just hired Dave Meltzer as my coach. And I said this to him one day. I said, this thing is getting a little bigger than I think I want it to be, or just really don't know what to do, but I'm starting to dip into my 401k to pay because it was getting out of hand. You're going to give yourself to be poor. And he says, that's one of the issues with givers too, is you got to learn to receive.
That's
And
right.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
exactly what
lovely.
we were talking about. Yep, I
Yeah.
love that.
And Steve helped me and showed me the way it is start a nonprofit. So it is a 501c3 now called Groceries for Grandparents. It's brand new. This has been going on since August of last year. And just did the advisory board on it. It's really an ambassador board. Dave's on the board and some other people. And so it's just taking off, and people are like saying, "This is so great. You're doing a great thing and you're feeding these people." And like Mauricio said, you're forced into learning things. And I was forced into this statistic, which probably went up by the time when I learned it, but 10,000 people a day turn 70. A majority of that number are women, and 90% of those people have an income of less than $1,000. With the economy the way it has been, especially since COVID and things like that, people are putting things to the side, and food is one of them. So they're like, instead of treating themselves to healthy food or products, they're buying crap. and there's diseases, diabetes is up and all that kind of
Mhm.
stuff. And it's because of the nature of Chefs for Seniors and them my grandmother teaching me that food is more than just filling a belly, it's filling a heart. I was like, wow. So I got, how blessed can I be? I got my Chefs for Seniors business. We're helping people here in our community. And then I got this massive thing with Mauricio. And again, we're helping people. We're going to be helping people that have this dream of being a chef, having their own business into entrepreneurs. I'm like,
And maybe even let people know that are not necessarily chefs that they can showcase their talent. They can fill not just the belly, right, the heart by providing this experiences. They may not even know right
yeah,
now, but
yeah,
they will.
Yeah.
yeah. It took a
Yeah.
lot for me to learn outside. I say this one thing is, right in my second year of the business of Chefs for Seniors, I was all money driven. And we were advertising, lead generation and all that. And I was not getting I was losing more clients than I was getting. And
Mhm.
this guy was a friend, he has a business and everything. And I was just bitching. I'm like, I'm not landing these deals. At one time, it was like, all right, I know 1 week I have these customers and the leads aren't just closing. Because it's your mindset because you're focusing on the money.
Well,
And so I had 25,000 names, emails, and phone numbers in my CRM of people that reached out to one of my ads in a lead, and for whatever reason didn't move forward. And he goes, I need you to go back to every one of them and ask them what they can afford. I'm like, they can't afford what I'm charging. It's your business. Charge what you can. Like Mauricio said, you don't want to give away everything. And in one day, I got 10 new clients in one day. And they're like, what do you mean? The person said, what do you mean? What can I afford? So what can you afford? I charge $260 a flat rate for our service. They get 14 meals. One lady said, my mom can charge, it can afford $100 plus the cost of the food. So they were paying around 160. So that's $99 more in my pocket. Yes, that I had, but I have a new customer. And guess what that customer did? Call Chef Ron, Chef for Seniors, he'll work with you. And so that just opened it up and everything. And then I started seeing, oh, wow, I backed off the money part and just leaned into how I can help and everything. And it's still a good lesson to learn.
Oh my gosh. I think that's a huge lesson, leaning into how you can help. So while we're on the topic of lessons, I always finish off my episodes by asking people what are the biggest lessons that they've learned in life. And also we talk about a little bit about our blessings because it's blessings. So can you guys each give us your top lesson and the top thing that you are grateful for, your blessing in life? Your top lesson and your top blessing.
Yeah, I'll start. So life's a boomerang, right? When you look at it that way, everything you do is coming back. And I think that's a big one. Think about that. And I am grateful for everything. Waking up this morning, having my 4 beautiful children here, my wife, my dog, the opportunity, the great day ahead, the blessing God gives me with being able to visualize and expand the vision for me and for the people around me to work with Ron. There's so many things to be grateful for. Just grateful for everything. And also for this podcast and for meeting Mitzi and having this conversation.
Thank you, Mauricio. What about you, Ron?
Yeah, it's the same thing. It just goes back to family. Most of my lessons came from my grandmother, my grandfather. My dad left me and my brothers when I was 9, and I'm the oldest. So my youngest brother didn't even know our father, basically. And so my grandfather, which is funny, was my father's father who took care of me and my brothers and everything and helped my mom and all that. And he just said, just do the right thing every day. And I had a mentor when I worked for Starwood Hotels. I have to say this guy, Patrick Sanchez. Mauricio, it's almost a story like you. He came from Mexico, started working at the Sheratons in Mexico, taking out the trash. Anyways, leap forward many years, he became one of the top general managers for Starwood Hotels. And my boss, the chef, I wasn't a chef at the time, didn't want to go to the executive meetings every week. And so he goes, you want to go? I was a culinary supervisor. And in the meetings was the executives from each department, maintenance, whatever it would be, the front desk, and Patrick Sanchez. And so one day I'm walking into the conference room where we were in the meeting, and there's a piece of trash on the floor and in the hotel. I picked it up, put it in the trash. Didn't think anything about it. And so he sits down and still had his accent and everything. He always smelled like cigarettes. I still remember Mr. Sanchez. And he reached into his pocket and took out a $50 bill and gave it to me. I'm like, "What's that for?" He goes, "Because you picked up that piece of trash." And so that hotel was inside, it was like a suites. So he was on the third floor with a pair of binoculars watching to see who would kick that piece of trash out of the way or who would pick it up. And everybody knows this saying is do the right thing even when nobody's looking, because
Right.
the universe knows. It could be, Dave Meltzer says a crazy thing. He goes, "If you see a piece of trash," he says it, "just pick it up." Could you imagine if all of us throughout the country just pick up a piece of trash, how clean our country would be? But do the right thing when nobody's looking and just do it. And I'm grateful for, yeah, my family, both of my kids. I have a son, his name is Marco, my daughter Isabella, my family. I'm blessed. My mom lives 5-10 minutes from me here, so I get to see her quite often, and my brothers, and of course, Cammy. And then Mauricio, I just don't know what to say, the opportunity that we have here together. So I'm excited to see our future.
Yes. So when will this Cookin app be available for people to use?
It's available. I think people could download it from the Android store, App Store. We are starting in New Jersey. We'll be opening up as we go. People can actually download it and they can actually go through it. It may not have chefs in the local city just yet. As we're going to be going city by city. But it is there. And I do want to invite people to open it. At least they'll know about it. And then
Yeah.
we'll be announcing whenever we open your city. And it's going to be like those things, like start with exponential growth over time.
Yeah. So stay tuned. I will definitely be following this journey and I'll let you guys know when different things are opening up with the Cookin app because I love it. I love this concept and I can't wait to see it just soar into the sky. It's fantastic. And you guys both, your beautiful hearts. I'm grateful to meet people like both of you. And it just expands my faith and hope and love in the world because you're just putting so many amazing things out there. Just the things you do, the idea, giving from the heart, and how can I help? And just meeting other people who are doing that and have that in the forefront of their minds. It expands your horizons as well. So be open, everyone. Never know who you're going to meet and what opportunities could come.
For the opportunity, Mitzi, and I actually got a chance. I got to see my friend here too, his face. So I like that.
Thank you for joining me today, both of you. And I hope
Thank you,
everyone
Mitzi.
has an amazing day.
Bye-bye. Bye, partner.
My partner. Thank you, Mitzi.